we may very well be seeing the very end of the Ja Morant era in Memphis, and it's probably time because with everything that happened, Ja Morant walking out of an exit meeting, deciding not to have that, not only are the Memphis Grizzlies exploring trade options, they also are set up to really rebuild around a younger core, and it all makes sense. We're going to talk about the offseason outlook of the Memphis Grizzlies right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So we've been going team by team for teams that did not make the playoffs, given their offseason outlook, and a lot of it's been pretty bleak for a lot of teams. Right now, one of the teams that I do think has a more positive outlook is the Memphis Grizzlies because of the plethora, if I can talk correctly, of draft picks that they do have in the stash. They have a number of draft picks when it comes down to it, and that is why, on top of a nice young core of players, but they got to start figuring some things out with the players that are already on the roster. We've seen over the last year the move off of Desmond Bane, move off of Jaren Jackson Jr. at the trade deadline, and Ja Morant is now the last person left. And reportedly as well that Ja Morant, add fuel to the fire of the trade speculation when he decided to not have an exit meeting with the Memphis Grizzlies. This one saying this should be very telling as to what the Grizzlies' plans are this offseason. No Clark was expected, but no KCP or no Morant is noticeable. So no exit meeting for Ja Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies, which now adds fuel to the fire that Ja Morant could be on his way out. Now, when you also look at some of the other comments around it and things around it, is that Kleiman himself said that Ja has been a pro. I think everyone is on the same page as much as we can be. I won't speculate on any potential transactions. Now, this one came from ESPN that said there will be teams that will feel like they didn't get what they wanted in the draft or free agency, and that's when something could happen for Ja. So the speculation now is that Ja Morant is going to be shopped this offseason, and that there are a number of teams that are going to be engaged in trade talks revolving around the former star Ja Morant. Now, we know that it's been a tough go for Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole. Once looked at as an up-and-coming team in the Western Conference, that many people were thinking, much like the Orlando Magic on the flip side of that we're going to be competing for Western Conference Finals, that we're going to rise. So the people were having talk of Ja Morant possibly being the next face of the NBA at one time. Oh, how far we have come from that in regards to Ja Morant. And it's been a huge fall off for Ja Morant in regards to, just everything that's happened. You look at the offense that was changed in Memphis. They kind of took the ball more out of his hands. He had the one of the worst seasons statistically of his NBA career at only averaging 9.5 points per game, 41% shooting from the field, which was the lowest mark of his NBA career, and only shot 23.5% from three, which again is the lowest mark of his NBA career. Not that Ja Morant was ever a knockout three-point shooter or anything like that. The best he's ever shot from three was his third season at the league at 34%. But then you look at the number of game played. Ja Morant only played 20 games last season, 50 games the season before that, 9 games the season before that. Matter of fact, he's only played over 60 games 3 times in his NBA career. That was his first 2 years and his 4th year in the league. Other than that, Ja Morant has missed more games than what he's played, in some of these seasons. So, you have that added wrinkle into potentially trading for Ja Morant. Now, we've heard that teams like Miami were willing to trade for Ja Morant, but they didn't want to give assets that could be later used to flip and try to get Giannis Antetokounmpo into Miami. So when you hear that more teams are ready to re-engage in trade talks with Ja Morant, the question has to become about what's the value? What do you really get back realistically for Ja Morant? Now, is the benefit of moving off of John, just not having him in your building, enough to kind of just make that next step? And some Memphis Grizzlies fans may very well say yeah. And so that's the thing. The value is not expected to be really high for Ja Morant, and that's because of the league perception around Ja. And once you have that league perception on top of being overpaid or being looked at as being overpaid and having the size of the contract that Ja Morant has, it's just going to be always difficult to get what is the value that you once had. And so now you got to look at it. Ja Morant is looked at as a player that has not been able to stay healthy or stayed on the basketball court for a multitude of different reasons. On top of that, his production has taken a decline and his shooting has taken a decline. He's coming off one of his worst seasons as a pro, and all this is happening at the same time while your team's going through a change and stuff like that. Ja Morant has 2 years left on his contract with this season coming up. 2026, 2027, guaranteed at $42 million this upcoming season, $44 million the season after that. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So any team trading for Ja, it's basically looked at as a 2-year evaluation period on what he actually does in your franchise, and then you try to make some decisions and move forward. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. But the Ja Morant piece of this is the first part of it, because if the Memphis Grizzlies are able to trade Ja Morant, let's say in the draft or at the start of free agency, that clears the path for them, which gets us to our next topic, the overall offseason outlook for the Memphis Grizzlies. I want to look at some of the priorities for Grizzlies. So, of course, deciding the future of Ja Morant is the top priority that they probably have on their board right now. Figure out what's going on with Ja, right? Find a place for him, move on from him. And then after that point, you have a nice plethora of young talent here that we're talking about 23 and younger when it comes down to. Let's just talk about the players 23 and younger on the Memphis Grizzlies. Zach Edey, 23. Walter Clayton, 22. Taylor Hendricks, 22. Dariq Whitehead, 21. G.G. Jackson, 21. Cedric Howard, 22. Even if you want to include Santi Aldama in that, who's 25 years old, you have some nice young talent in this draft. And I'm not saying that you have young talent that necessarily going to turn into stars. We'll see what happens in regards to that, right? Like Zach Edey has his own problem staying healthy. You need to figure that out. But when you look at the players that on this Grizzlies team that put up some points, like you have Ty Jerome, who put up 19 points per game for this team, right? Like, and again, Ty Jerome is a guy that maybe you look to flip, maybe you look to hold on to, especially if you're trading Ja Morant. But Ty Jerome at 28 years old may have some value at averaging almost 20 points per game, right? But then outside of that, you have Dariq Whitehead, average 16 points per game. Cedric Howard, your first-round pick of last year, 13 points per game. Zach Edey, 13 points, 11 rebounds per game. So G.G. Jackson, 12.5 points. He never really lived up to what he did his rookie year, but you have that. Taylor Hendricks, 10 points per game. So you have some promising young talent that you can continue to evaluate to see what it's going to be. Your financial situation isn't the best, right? I want to be clear here on that. We talk about the financial situation of all these teams. They have $130+ million in contracts, and that's going to be something that could harpen this team. But if you move off Ja Morant, you have that. Excuse me. Also have KCP, who does have a player option for $21 million. He's likely to opt into that, which is going to put them over. If KCP does not opt into that contract, they have $15 million in cap space. He's probably going to opt into that, which means they're going to be over the salary cap. So the salary cap situation isn't necessarily the best for them, right? They have to make a decision on what to do with that. $130 million in guaranteed contracts. They remain over the cap. They do have a $28.9 million trade exception, though, and multiple first-round picks to where they can do something. But what they have to address with their roster is, A, continue trying to draft, right? Build through the draft. You have a nice young plethora of talent. They have a 37.2% chance at landing a top 4 pick in this loaded 2026 draft. You have already young talents like Cedric Howard, Zach Edey, G.G. Jackson, Jalen Wells, the players that we've talked about on that team. You can continue to move that forward, right? So while you don't have the best salary cap outlook right now, you trade Ja. If you try to find somebody to take KCP as an expiring contract too, that could turn around for you. But where you are right now, the financials aren't the end-all be-all. You're not really going to be a free agent destination. What you need to do is build organically through the draft, because the draft pick future is extremely bright for them. They're going to have 2 first-round picks in this draft, one in the top 10, one at number 16, which is really good. They have their own, pick at number 6, right? And then you have the pick that you're going to get from the Orlando Magic at number 16. So that's pretty good for them there. They have 2 picks in an extremely loaded draft to add 2 more very good young talents in this draft. And you can go guard up there at number 6. If you stay there, you don't get lottery luck. You can go big. You need to continue adding depth because of Zach Edey's injury history. You can do that, right? But then you look at the future draft assets for this team. Let's just go over this for a second. Between 2027 and 2032, the Memphis Grizzlies have 11 to 13 first-round picks in just those 5 years. In 5 years, 11 to 13 first-round picks. They have the 2 first-round picks in this year, right? So that's a really good place to be in. 2027, you have a top 4 protected pick from the Los Angeles Lakers, plus the most favorable pick between Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota. You have, in 2029, you have a top 2 protected pick swap with the Orlando Magic. You have unprotected first from Orlando in 2030, another unprotected first from Phoenix in 2031. So with all of those first-round picks that they have, again, 11 to 13 first-round picks, 6+ second-round picks over the next 5 years. That's a great place to be in if you're the Memphis Grizzlies and you've already moved off of Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's the part about the Memphis Grizzlies that makes this so much more promising than some of the other teams that we've talked about here, is because of the plethora of picks that they have. So they have the flexibility to continue drafting, building organically through the draft. And then, let's say in the next 4 years, for example, next 3 or 4 years, one of your draft picks hits that superstar leap, right? Let's say that happens. You now have future picks as well that then you can look to move in to add some veterans to that team, to do some of that stuff with that team. This team has tremendous flexibility. And that's an amazing place to be in, because a lot of teams with players like Ja Morant that you have to move off of, you don't have that picks. But between the Desmond Bane trade, the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade, they have set themselves up with a nice amount of draft picks to really kind of make some movement and build a young core. The more bites at the apple, the more opportunities for young players to add to that becomes key, especially sometimes when those picks also aren't tied to your own record, which then means, hey, if you do end up getting better, you still have these draft picks that still could end up being good. And especially with you owning some of the Orlando Magic's unprotected first-round pick, specifically in 2030, and we see just what happened with the Orlando Magic getting eliminated, what does that then mean for your team, right? So they're going through it and they're doing it. They have high-value picks. They have some promising young players here. They just got to clear out, continue doing what they've already done. They've already made steps toward their rebuild and retool. With moving Jaren Jackson Jr., moving Desmond Bane, they've already made steps to that. They just have to continue that and then hope that they're going to build a young core that actually shows that it's worth continue investment in, and that they're going to develop into, somebody's going to develop into that. They are in the middle of resetting their timeline. So right now, I can't say like some of the other teams that, got struck out, they have a timeline. The Memphis Grizzlies are still in the midst of resetting their timeline, and thus I can't really put a timeline on it because they're resetting it. This timeline could be 3 years. It could be 4 years. It could be 6 years, right? We don't know exactly what the timeline is going to be. But the salary cap and contract issues, if you can add more clarity to your financial outlook and then have even more trade leverage so where you can take on other bad salaries or things like that to get more picks, that's a great place to be in. First order of business I would do is find a trade partner for Ja Morant. That's the first thing I'm doing. Find a trade partner for Ja Morant, hoping that you're not taking back any money that's longer than what his deal is. If you can spread out that $42 million across multiple players and even maybe get some expiring contracts to where you can get some cap flexibility in that, do that. Next order of business, finding a new home for KCP. KCP isn't a terrible player, and I want to be clear there, but he is a player that it doesn't fit the timeline here, and those minutes can go to players that you're trying to develop, right? So if you can find somebody that can bite on KCP, which is going to be a little bit difficult with the size of his contract, but if you can find a taker for KCP, that further kind of eliminates it. Now, even if you can't, his contract ends at the end of next season, so it's not like it's long-term bad money there for him. And with him, his last 2 years being such a fall-off from three-point shooting, and he's supposed to be a 3-and-D player, you may find it tough, but it's not the worst outlook. Better financial days are coming for the Memphis Grizzlies one way or another. If you can move off a Ja without taking long-term salary back, your financial outlook immediately starts looking so much better for this Memphis Grizzlies team, and that's what I'd focus on. And then just building organically through the draft, having the right coach, having the right development team in those players, evaluate that talent that you have there, and then you never know. We could be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies completely differently in 2, 3, or 4 years, and that's really what they want to do. So we'll see what they do with trade scenarios. We'll see what they do, the keep versus move debate with some of these players. But the franchise is really establishing a direction, and I respect them for it. Let's just see where they can find it. But this is going to be one of the craziest situations to watch because of the Ja Morant. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Should the Grizzlies try to hold on to Ja, or do you think they should trade him for whatever the best offer is this offseason and then continue, like I think, in building that young core? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comment section. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to us. Help us grow. And hit that notification bell if you never want to miss an episode. Other than that, you guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything NBA and basketball related, and we're going to continue to do that as we continue to build out this channel. So like I like to end everything on, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe I'll take the weekend off. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.